Okay, looks like we might be good here. So, wanted to go live today because, frankly, I miss talking to people, and I haven't been asked any questions. I mean, comparatively, usually we get a lot of phone calls every day. We're really busy. We can barely find the time to do stuff like this. So it's cool to be able to. I'm just going to kind of give it a minute for people to log in. This is totally unscripted. I have no agenda today. I'm not actually here to sell you anything. Um, Not that I do that stuff a lot, but yeah, today I'm really just here to be a resource, and I want to hear what you guys, and I want to hear your questions. I want to hear what you think because one thing I've found being a real estate broker since 2013, so a few minutes now, um, I've found that there's a lot of misunderstandings about real estate. And that misinformation can come from a variety of places. I don't know. I know doctors talk all the time about WebMD and your WebMD stuff and your Google stuff, and you find out some things, but there's a lot you don't find out. So I want to take this opportunity as a New York State licensed real estate broker to kind of just answer your questions. I service between Buffalo and Syracuse down to the southern border of the state. We service a pretty large area, and that's something that I get a lot of questions about because we do service a large area. And it used to be that your location as a realtor was very, very important. Um, it used to be that you wanted a hyper local agent because they were close enough to your house to be able to show it on short notice. Another good thing was that they were connected with the community. They knew people in the community because a while ago, years ago, the only way to connect with people was in person. And you had to be a member of the Rotary Club, and that's the only way you could possibly know enough people to work a real estate market. There wasn't an option to go live on five different social media platforms at the same time. So we work with clients all over the state because we can. There's enough of us. We have the resources to do it, and we have the data to do it. And frankly, in today's world, a real estate broker with online power is what's going to affect a seller's outcome the most. Um, you could live next door to a seller, and if you don't know what you're doing online, you're going to kind of do them a disservice. So here's a question: how does working with an independent brokerage versus a franchise affect me as a consumer, as a seller? Um, Anytime you hire a real estate agent, you are hiring a 1099 independent contractor. Every single one of us. I know in New York State, every single one of us. I think in the whole country, though. I don't think there's a single real estate agent in the whole country that is not a 1099 independent contractor. What does that mean? Well, if I work for a franchise brokerage, I pay them as my broker. So I pay them and they provide me with some things. But in reality, the reason I opened my own brokerage is because the things that I was being provided, I ended up providing them for myself anyway. And there's just a lot of misunderstandings about, if you work with a big brokerage versus an independent brokerage. And that's, what I went through when I thought about making this decision was, okay, well, how is this going to affect my client? How is this going to affect my seller who's depending on me to bring them a certain outcome so that they can get from where they are to where they want to be? Well, I'm still a member of the Greater Rochester Association of Realtors. Okay. So really, that's most of it. a good segue to my next question here. How does a real estate commission work? So this is kind of answering both questions. When you hire me as your broker, as a seller, you're going to pay me a commission. Most realtors charge a commission of somewhere between 5 and 8%, depending on the price range that you're in and what you want them to do. Frankly, if you have a residential house that you want sold, it's going to be a different price than if you want a multifamily that I have to notify 7 tenants for every showing. That's going to be a different price. It's more work. So every realtor can charge whatever they want to. Now, you're going to pay that broker a certain price. Let's say you pay them, just to use a fictitious number, 10%. Okay? That means they're of that 10% to whoever brings a buyer. And that's what a multiple listing service is. A multiple listing service is where all 3,200 or so of the Greater Rochester Association of Realtors agents, that's where they go to find houses for their clients. Every one of those to the buyer's agent. So me as a listing broker, if you hire me to sell your house, I'm saying, okay, guys, all 3,200 of you, I'm offering 5% to come and bring your buyer to my house, and they're protected. So those brokers, those buyer brokers, they're protected. They know they're going to be paid, and that's what we do. So being with a independent brokerage versus a franchise, it really matters that they're a member of the same multiple listing service, which in our area, the Greater Rochester Association of Realtors, and don't quote me here, but I'm going to say that it covers just about all of Western New York. I mean, down to Corning it goes. It goes from Buffalo to Syracuse, and it cooperates with the local MLSs out there. It's a really big program where it affords us the opportunity to work a big area. And yeah, I hope I explained that well. Let me just check my. Okay, we're doing good. So, all right, here's a good one. Is it harder to get a mortgage because of COVID? It doesn't have to be. Okay. Now, I'm not a banker, so I don't want to give the wrong impression that I'm speaking on behalf of a mortgage broker. I'm a real estate broker, but I know some stuff about this too. And I know that if you ask 10 banks the same exact question, you will get 10 unique answers. So something I wish I could tell every buyer, I hope you're listening, is you can't take no for an answer. Okay, if some bank told you that you can't have a mortgage because your credit score isn't above 620, and I'm using that number because that's a real number, 620, that's what a lot of banks will tell you. There are banks that I work with that'll get you a mortgage if your credit score is above 580. Okay, and there's other financing options too. There's a lot of ways to own a home, and you can't just listen to the people that are screaming that the sky is falling, because JP Morgan Chase got out of the home equity line of credit business, and I don't know a ton about it, so I don't want to get into it, but the bottom line is a couple other banks followed, and JP Morgan, I believe, raised their minimum requirement to a 700. I think some other banks have too, but I work with some local banks. Okay, I work with banks that are right here in Rochester, and I've closed mortgages this week with those banks on people with credit scores under 600 this week. It's really happening. The sky, it hasn't fallen. There was an article today that called the real estate bottom. Zillow, actually, as much as I hate Zillow, I hate Zillow because they give people answers on the value of their home without ever walking in there, and it gives people misinformation. I hate Zillow for that reason. That's the only reason I don't like Zillow, because it's a big provider of misinformation. It is the WebMD to my doctor. Um, Zillow is. But Zillow said something pretty smart. They said that the bottom of the housing market is right now. That article came out, I believe, today. If not, it was yesterday. The bottom of the market is right now. So, I mean, what's the bottom look like right now? Well, it's not so bad. The bottom isn't so bad. Houses in Rochester and the surrounding areas are selling for at least what they were selling for in March and February. At least. Sometimes I think more, simply because there's so much less. Okay, we home prices were high because there was low supply with high demand. The supply's only gotten lower, and people are bored out of their minds. And one of the few things you can do during COVID-19 is shop for homes online. And now, as a consumer, any listing out there with a listing agent worth their salt has a virtual tour available, has a Matterport tour. So you're a home buyer, you're stuck at home, you can't do anything fun, you can shop for homes, and that's what they're doing. And people are buying homes without seeing them. So if you're a seller, just understand that you're appealing to a very starved market right now. There was, and there is supply. There is supply. Are people buying and selling houses right now? Yeah, they are. There was 30 new listings in Monroe County in the last 24 hours of single-family homes in Monroe County. 30 of them. That's not a lot necessarily, but it's not a lot either. It's not the worst we've ever had, and the number keeps going up every day. And those houses that are listing are selling within hours. They're not staying on the market because there's nothing else for buyers to look at. Buyer activity has never been higher. I mean, online, it's never been higher. Ever, ever, ever. Never, ever, ever, ever has online activity been higher for buyers. That doesn't mean that they're all buyers. Some of them are just shoppers, okay? Some of them are bored. A lot of them are bored. Shoot, I bet all of them are bored. But there are serious buyers, and they're selling houses and buying houses right now. Here's a really good one. So, is now a good time to invest in real estate? Yes. Yes, it is a good time. Why? It's always been my philosophy that you want to be buying the things that no one else is buying, and you want to be selling the things that everybody's buying. Okay? So you want to buy things no one else wants, and you want to sell things everybody wants. Well, what I've just described to you is real estate investing. Right now, a lot of people believe the sky is falling. They believe that you shouldn't you shouldn't take any risks. And you know what? I hope they're not right. I don't think they're right. I don't think the sky's falling. I think we're going to be fine. And I think that if the sky falls, you're dead anyway. So why not go out with a bang for real? You have an opportunity now where investment properties are going to be more available. What's an investment property? Well, it's the house that nobody wanted when it went on the market, right? So it's an ugly house. It's a house that needs work. It's a house that you can take, polish up, and sell for a lot more money. It has been very difficult to invest in real estate lately because there has been a very low supply, and that supply is even lower right now. But there's also less buyers. Now the good stuff's going quick. The premium, move-in ready houses with open floor plans and everything else people want, those are going fast. The houses that need the love, those can be had. right now, especially if you have cash. And it's a great time to invest because there's not a lot of people out there doing it, or at least a lot less than there were 2 months ago. 2 months ago, everybody and their brother was trying to become a real estate investor. And now people have become more weary. They're watching out. But if you're savvy and you know what you're buying and you know you're buying it right, it's a good time to invest in real estate. You make your profit in anything when you buy something. Okay, if I'm out on the market for iPads are selling for about $500, and I can grab myself an iPad for $100. I bought it right. I can't lose. I could sell this thing for $500. I bought it for 100. I'm good. But if you go out there and you try buying one of these things for $400, maybe there's something wrong with it. You got to do a little work in it. Maybe you end up having $600 into it, and then you lose. So it's important to know what you're getting into when you're buying an investment property. You want to know before you're committed to that house. You need to know exactly what it's going to cost you to buy it, fix it, and you need to know exactly what it's going to be worth when you're done, so that you can do the numbers. Numbers don't lie, but sometimes there's other factors that go into it, and you want to make sure you're working with a professional that you trust. If you're really thinking of investing in real estate, give me and we can talk more about that. So the bottom line is, guys. Oh, here's another one. So this is a question I get a lot. Why do I need a pre-approval before I can have a showing? Well, it used to be different because we used to, we're not doing showings the traditional way right now. So, but still, the why is the same. So why do I need a pre-approval letter from a bank before I can go see houses with a realtor? Well, here's why. And the only time anyone asks this is when they have their buyer hat on. So take that off and put your seller hat on for a minute, and you'll understand this, because you're trying to sell your house. You still have your family there. You're still living there. All right. Someone wants to come see your house tomorrow night at 4 o'clock. That's when you are going to be home from work. Most good buyers with pre-approvals have jobs, right? So they want to come see your house, and they want to see it when you were going to be there anyway. You want to know that they could actually buy it. That's why. You want to know that they could actually buy it if they like it. The last thing you're going to do as a seller is leave your house, take your dog for a ride, and spend an hour circling the block so that somebody who may or may not actually be able to buy your house can spend some time in your house alone with their realtor, thankfully. But still, as a realtor, as a buyer agent, when I'm working with a buyer that I don't know personally, I like to know that they at least have a good enough credit report where they're not in handcuffs before I go letting them in my car with me. Because otherwise, we're not actually getting anything done. We have to start with the end in mind. And if you're looking into buying a home, you got to start with your plan to pay for it. That's where it all begins. Because if you can't get past step one, there's no reason to go to step 2 or step 3. You got to know that you can afford it, that you can pay for it. And a lot of times at pre-approval, we find stuff that is on someone's credit report from 7-10 years ago that we can clear up in 30 days without a problem, but we need those 30 days. So it's important to get that step done ahead of time before, the first thing. You want to get that, because it's not like a pass fail. You don't go to get your pre-approval and then just get handed a big face full of rejection. No, you can't have a house. That's not what happens. When you go get your pre-approval, it's never no. It's, well, yes, if we can just do this, this, and this. And then we help you do this, this, and this. So, and then you know what you're doing. You know that there's a plan behind it. You're following a recipe. You're not guessing. And it's way better. I can take a client who has a 560 credit score, depending on why they have a 560 credit score. And I've seen my bankers raise a credit score 100 points in 5 days. It's just, don't prejudge your credit, because if you don't think you can get a pre-approval for a mortgage, don't think. Just don't think. No, you got to know the facts. There's no place for opinion. You're either qualified or you're not. And if you're not qualified with one bank, you might very well be qualified with another bank. And when banks compete, you win. So that's another conversation. But you want to make sure that you don't stop asking the question until you get the answer you want, because someone is going to give you the answer that you want. You just got to know enough bankers to ask until you get that answer. All right. That should probably do it for today. If anything, I went over today has sparked a question, and you hit me up in the private messages and phone calls, whatever you guys want to do, and we'll get your questions answered. Thanks for taking the time.